Hi everyone! Today I'm going to talk more about world building. In earlier video I mentioned my way of making world building, the outwards going spiral and asking questions when creating. What I mean by this is that I take an idea as a basis of the story and start designing everything around it. When I'm making a background for a character or a people, the geography doesn't matter that much for me. The most important thing is people, culture and societies. For me, this helps making the character an active being in the story, highlighting that they are the main character. I have never liked those stories where the story just throws the character here and there and they have no say in the train of things. Human issues are always more important and interesting than the placements of rivers and hills. The word world building might need a little bit more explaining. What I mean by that? When I read other world building tips, people have used most of their time talking about maps and geography. Well, that is world building in the word's literal sense. World, geography, if you think that a world is a physical place. For me, the concept of world building is everything that is in the story. The lore, if that is a better word. As a creator and reader, I am much more interested who is the character's city's mayor, what do they eat in the city, what the city's economy is like, and what material the houses are built, instead of what is the name of a mountain that the character is probably never going to even visit. So I don't waste my time creating names for those mountains, when I can actually create things that are shown in the story. But back to the topic. I'm going to go through how I make lore. As an example, I'm going to use my role-playing game character, Enno. She's a black elf or a drow, and the game master didn't provide me with any background information about the society of the black elves, so I came up with it myself. This is actually a good example of my working with lore, because here I have a clear starting point and goal. There is no use for me to start designing the world from big things to details, since the game master will make the big lines for us players anyway. So, how did I start? My character is a black elf rogue named Enno. Everything I knew about the game campaign world was that the campaign started in a desert area, and the setting was steampunk fantasy. So, I started asking myself questions. First, why would my character be on a desert? Well, maybe she simply lived there. But how can you live on a desert? Where do you get food and water? Black elves usually live underground in many stories, so that could be an answer. Let's go with that. Maybe they live under the desert in caves, where natural hot springs provide them with heat and water. And if there is heat and water, there can be life. Since nobody likes the black elves, they can live in peace underground without humans trying to hunt them down every day. Okay, that sounds fine. That was easy. Next, I need a reason for my character to leave their home. It's hard to go on an adventure from the safety of your own home, so they need to leave. I could make her orphan, but that is such a cliché, and it still wouldn't explain why no one else took care of her instead. So maybe there was a drought. The hot springs dried out, so their food sources became scarce. And being the egoistic survival of the fittest type of people they are, the black elves kicked some people out of their safe caves. But why it was Enno who was kicked out instead of the other people? This part needs some more thinking. I needed to make a society that would just kick some of the weak members out. There had to be more important and less important people. I didn't want my character to be kicked out because she was a criminal, because she would have deserved it then. I didn't want her being picked to be just a random thing, because then she would be victim of her circumstances, and that would be boring. I want my characters to actively set things in motion with their actions, not just drift around in the story. I thought laziness would be a nice character trait, and I thought playing with a hedonistic, chaotic, neutral person would be fun. So, what kind of society would punish stupid and lazy kids? I came up with a society where everyone makes their own path and everyone raises their children together. When a black elf woman becomes an adult, they gain the right to vote and talk in the Senate. A way for the society to force men to actually take part in raising their children and not just go about on their way. The society gives the right to vote for a man when he has taught a profession for a kid. Raise a kid as your own and teach them a profession, and after that you become a full member of the society. A man or woman has more respect and more votes the more children they have. In this arrangement, the men take the smartest and the most hardworking kids to be their apprentices, and they don't bother with the rest, the lazy ones and the stupid ones. My character, Enno, is one of the fatherless kids. She didn't show too much interest nor skills in working, so no man bothered to teach her. When the drought made the hot springs to dry down, Enno was one of the first ones to be thrown from the nest to the cold outside world. Enno ended as a street urchin among the abandoned human children, and our story can start. When I come up with society structure or anything in lore, I try to narrow my choices down by choosing things I want to include. In this lore, I wanted the society of the Black Elves to be cruel, but not in the traditional we kill innocents because reasons kind of way. There had to be some reason why the humans hated the Black Elves. I also didn't want them to have traditional human roles to make them different and a little bit more animal-like. I wanted to throw marriage completely away of the picture and make the society matriarchal more than patriarchal, to make them differ from humans even more. In my Dark Elf society, there will be more women with the right to vote than men, because you can give birth in your teens to gain the right to vote, but a man has to raise and teach a kid until their young adulthood before they can gain their right to vote. I hope this explained why I like to start designing from details and design my way from small things to big. I think it's more important for my character's background to know in what kind of conditions they are raised, instead of the geography of the world. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the issue. Thanks for your time, and keep on creating!